The morning sun rose gently over London, casting a golden sheen on the Union Jack flags fluttering above doorways and street lamps. It was May 8, 2025, a day that marked the 80th anniversary of victory in Europe, V-Day. 8 decades ago, the guns had fallen silent across the European theater, and the world had rejoiced. Today, the United Kingdom prepared to commemorate that historic triumph with solemn remembrance and spirited celebration. At the heart of it all were the royal family, continuing a legacy of national service and symbolism. From Buckingham Palace to the cenotaph in Whitehall, from wartime veterans to schoolchildren dressed in 1940s attire, the day was not just a commemoration, it was a bridge between generations. And at the center of this vibrant tableau stood King Charles III, Queen Camilla, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and their children, embodying both continuity and change. The day begins, echoes of the past. The day's events began with a formal service at Westminster Abbey, attended by the royal family and political leaders. The Abbey, steeped in centuries of royal history, rang with the solemn tones of the choir and the resonant words of remembrance. King Charles, wearing a deep navy uniform adorned with medals inherited from his mother and grandfather, gave a speech that echoed across time. 80 years ago, courage stood firm against tyranny. Today, we honor those who gave their lives for peace and freedom. Their legacy endures not just in our memories, but in every act of unity and hope we commit to. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Among the pews sat not only veterans of the Second World War, many now centenarians, but also younger members of the armed forces. The presence of Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, dressed in formal attire appropriate for their ages, underscored the royal family's message: history lives through stories passed on. A royal procession. After the service, a military procession made its way down the Mall. Crowds lined the iconic avenue, waving flags and singing wartime songs like "We'll Meet Again" and "White Cliffs of Dover." For those old enough to remember the original V-Day in 1945, the royal family appeared on the Buckingham Palace balcony, just as Queen Elizabeth II had done 8 decades earlier, herself a young princess who famously slipped into the crowds that night to celebrate anonymously. Now her son stood in her place, flanked by his own heirs, looking out over a sea of grateful faces. A ceremonial flight past by the Royal Air Force painted the skies with the red, white, and blue of the Union Jack. As Spitfires, Hurricanes, and modern jets soared above, applause erupted from the thousands below. The cameras caught a tender moment. Prince Louis, perched on his father's arm, pointed skyward, eyes wide with wonder. It was a portrait of innocence amid remembrance, tea parties, and wartime tunes. Across the nation, the celebration continued in the form of street parties. The royal family led by example, attending a V-Day-themed tea party in Hyde Park hosted for veterans, their families, and members of the public. Queen Camilla, ever gracious, was seen chatting with a 102-year-old former nurse who had served in France. Meanwhile, the Princess of Wales knelt beside a group of schoolchildren quizzing her on the wartime efforts of her grandmother. The royal presence was more than ceremonial. Each family member had a personal connection to the war, some through direct lineage, others through their charitable work. Prince William, patron of numerous military organizations, gave a speech celebrating the endurance of the human spirit. Though decades have passed, the courage of that generation inspires us to face modern challenges, climate change, inequality, and conflict with the same resilience and unity. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Musicians dressed in 1940s uniforms performed Glenn Miller hits, and guests danced beneath Union Jack bunting strung from oak trees. The Princess of Wales gamely joined a few veterans in a swing dance, her laughter adding to the light-hearted yet reverent atmosphere, illuminating the night. As dusk approached, attention turned to the Tower of London. In a breathtaking spectacle, the ancient walls lit up with a projection show chronicling key moments of World War II, Churchill's speeches, D-Day landings, and scenes of celebration on May 8, 1945. Thousands watched in silence as a moment of reflection unfolded, the names of the fallen scrolling across the stones in solemn tribute. Later that evening, the king lit a ceremonial beacon, the first of hundreds across the Commonwealth. As flames danced into the night, echoing those of V-E Day celebrations 80 years ago, he declared, "Let these lights remind us that even in our darkest hours, hope prevails. May we always stand for peace." That same moment saw Windsor Castle, Edinburgh Castle, and landmarks from Canada to New Zealand joining in illumination, showing that the spirit of V-E Day was not confined to Britain alone. Royal Memories, a family story. In a televised segment aired after the beacon lighting, members of the royal family shared personal reflections on V-E Day. Rare footage and family photographs were shown alongside anecdotes. King Charles recalled sitting on his mother's lap during early V-E Day anniversaries. "Even as a boy, I sensed the gravity of what the day meant to her," he said. "It wasn't just about victory, it was about remembering the cost." Queen Camilla shared a story of her father, a decorated officer who rarely spoke of the war. "On V-E Day, he allowed himself to smile a little more," she said. The Prince of Wales highlighted how his children had learned about V-E Day in school. "They were curious about rationing, about air raids," he laughed. "But they also understood the sacrifices." The Princess of Wales, often seen as the family's historian, emphasized the importance of storytelling. "When we keep these stories alive," she said, "we honor not just the past, but the values that shaped it: service, duty, and compassion." A day etched in history. The 80th anniversary of V-E Day was not merely a ritual of nostalgia, it was a statement of continuity. Through reverent silence and joyful celebration, through military parades and children's laughter, the nation paid tribute to a generation that had weathered unimaginable storms. The royal family played their part not as distant figureheads, but as stewards of memory and unity. Their presence reminded citizens that history is not buried in dusty archives, but lives on in gestures, traditions, and shared experiences. As the final notes of "God Save the King" rang out across the darkened sky and fireworks shimmered above the Thames, there was a collective sense of gratitude for those who had come before, and for the hope that future generations would inherit. 80 years on, the message remained clear: courage, resilience, and unity endure. And with the royal family at the helm, the spirit of V-E Day shone as brightly as ever. Subscribe the channel to get such videos.